Welcome into the Baseball Insiders on a Monday afternoon. I am Adam Weinrib, joined as always by Fansided's MLB insider Robert Murray. Hot crowd on a Monday, hot team on a Monday. The Arizona Diamondbacks, potentially the hottest team in baseball, but don't forget Jackson Merrill and the San Diego Padres. We know the Dodgers sure won't. They're coming up behind you in Los Angeles. If the Dodgers hadn't had a great series against the Rays, this would be even tighter. And oh, by the way, the Cleveland Guardians are being chased down in the AL Central by both the Royals and Twins, and they happen to play the Royals for 4 this week. One of 2 doubleheaders currently in action. The other one, Danny Jansen, played for both teams. And I beg of Danny Jansen to maybe, if he has already been removed from an at-bat in which he was participating as a catcher, placed on the other roster to play catcher and offense for the other team playing his original team. Danny Jansen, if you're watching this episode or listening to it in the clubhouse during the game, please get ejected. Get ejected from this game. That's the only way that this could be even better. Get into an argument. You have a couple innings left. But it's probably a long shot. Probably a long shot that Danny Jansen is listening to the show as well. Maybe he'll hear the replay. Who knows? Either way, more to talk about, more pertinently, in the meantime, with Robert Murray. Robert, how are you doing, dude?
I'm great. Danny Jansen and every player in Major League Baseball should be watching the show right now because I've got news. I'm breaking news live on the show here right now. But
how about that? We teased it in the Discord a little bit. We're going to start this show by breaking a little bit of news, a roster shuffle. We've already seen a couple come down the pike today. Robert was first to those, and he's going to be first to another one right now.
I am. The Miami Marlins are designating Forrest Wall for assignment, I am told. So that is the news that I have. I know it's not earth-shattering news by any means, but it is news. I have not tweeted this yet. People who are watching the show right now know this before basically everybody else in the world, well, besides Forrest Wall and people in the Marlins. So I don't know exactly what the future holds for Forrest Wall, but he ended up playing for the Marlins and the Braves this year. Only played in 3 games with the Marlins, so not too much time, but he has been designated for assignment, I have been told. And here I am breaking the news to you live on the Baseball Insiders. So good to be here.
Good to be here, as always. If you want more funny little teases, look, it's not going to be the most momentous news in the world on Monday, August 26th at 3:30 p.m. But if you want to play the tease game, join us in the Discord. You'll already see some of our Discorders in the comments saying to do the exact same thing, and I would endorse exactly what they're saying to do. You should do it. You could join at the Rumor Mill tier where you get to talk to Robert and I between shows, have a little fun, ask your questions. You could join at the All-Star tier where you get first priority in the comments for questions. And you also get a private stream once a month. We've got that stream coming up this Wednesday at 7 o'clock Eastern. So join Robert and I in the All-Star stream if you are a member of our Discord at that level. And if you miss the live stream, you just get your questions in ahead of time. We can still answer them. And then we'll send you the video afterwards to make it feel like you are participating, although you don't get to technically be on a choppy Zoom with Robert, myself, and a bunch of other people with their mics alternately turned on and muted. But you pretty much get the same experience. Get your questions in ahead of time. We would love to hear from you. Before we dive into the weekend's action, some of the hottest teams and some stats that I'm still having a hard time believing from Jackson Merrill. You did have the Nick Senzel news out before this show, as well as the Jake Woodford DFA. Should we expect anything else in the coming days or hours or any more that you want to share on Senzel or any of the little shuffles from this morning?
I've got one more DFA, Nick Avila. I don't know if that's out yet, but that was literally just texted that. So Nick Avila was designated for assignment by the Baltimore Orioles. So actually they just tweeted it now saying he got released. So that was quick. But yeah, that's another one. There is lots of stuff that is going to be going on this week. I would imagine I would imagine the waiver wire. You got to see me report yesterday that Michael A. Taylor was placed on outright waivers by the Pittsburgh Pirates. I would not be surprised at all if we see some other players who are placed on waivers in the coming days before or leading up into September. So I think that is something to watch out for. And we'll see exactly what ends up happening. But teams that are out of the postseason run trying to shed some salary, I think would be wise to do it, and I expect them to do it. So we'll see in the coming days here.
I'll start with Michael A. Taylor right up top too, because we plan to talk about him anyway. He's on outright waivers right now. Technically still a member of the Pittsburgh Pirates. We saw this a couple of times last year where Harrison Bader was another one, placed on waivers, talked to in the Yankees clubhouse about what it means to be placed on waivers, but still technically on the team. Michael A. Taylor is a Pirate. And the question is, does he get claimed? Does he get DFA'd at the end of this process? What is the next step for Pittsburgh, both here with regard to Taylor and then through September, any other Pirates that you might anticipate being sent out in the open market as well? I know Woodford was probably a guy who was a candidate for that, and now, again, has been DFA'd as well.
No, exactly. And so as far as Michael A. Taylor goes, he was placed on outright waivers, and I am told that those waivers expire at 1 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. So we should be able to have an answer by that time on exactly if he was claimed or if he goes unclaimed. And I had someone estimate that there's a 50-50 chance that he is claimed. And I think there's plenty of teams that do make sense for Taylor. I think Atlanta would make sense. I think Philadelphia and improving their outfield defense, that could make some sense there. A team like the Brewers, I know I mentioned them with Jason Hayward as a potential fit. I think with their outfield injuries with Christian Yelich and also trading Joey Wiemer, they could end up using some more depth there. So I think those are some potential solutions there. But I'm curious to see or potential options, I should say. But I'm curious to see if he goes unclaimed, what exactly do the Pirates do with Michael A. Taylor? My guess, as of this point, and this is subject to change, is that he would remain with Pittsburgh. That is my feel as of right now. We'll see if that's ultimately what happens, but we should have clarity within the next 22 hours. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, and we wish we had clarity here on the show, but of course we will stay tuned, chat with us in the Discord. We'll presumably know more at some point soon there. I wanted to give our Pirates fans a little bit of an update because they've been with us for quite a while, and because one of their more expensive offseason additions is now hanging out on outright waivers as they look to navigate the rest of the year.
Yeah, and I'll also can I mention another one that I think could make some sense?
Absolutely.
So they obviously made some offseason additions this year, and the biggest one was Aroldis Chapman. This is not sourced by any means, but it's my own speculation. Is they traded Martin Perez at the deadline. They put Taylor, who was signed to a 1-year deal, on outright waivers. Is it possible they could put Aroldis Chapman on waivers? I have no information to back that up, but he could be a real benefit to any contending team. Obviously, his postseason history is super extensive. He's a proven veteran. I think it would make sense if the Pirates feel like they want to shed some salary, which that would shed at least a little bit. So I think it's something that they should consider. I think they will consider it. Whether or not they do it, I don't know, but I think it at least makes sense.
I have been having a similar thought, to be honest. I immediately combed down the Pirates roster to be like, well, if they did it with Taylor, are they going to do it with anybody else? And there aren't that many high-priced veterans that even come to mind. It's just sort of Chapman and Yasmani Grandal, but Chapman's got an exorbitant salary. What are the Pirates playing for right now other than pride? Does everybody, other teams probably still want to roll as Chapman, considering he helped lead the Texas Rangers on a World Series run last year, even though it seemed at times that would not be possible or probable or likely whatsoever? I would say I'm eyeing something similar. My job would not be on the floor if he ended up on that waiver list. MLB Deadline News asked us if there are any other waiver candidates that we can think of. We're probably going to focus on this pretty heavily on Thursday's show just before the deadline. But I would say as they come to mind, we will continue to bring them up. It's tough to think of too many who are still sticking around. Although I'm holding out hope that Kevin Pillar ends up on waivers. Yeah,
which if he doesn't, that'd be pretty unfortunate because he deserves. Well, it sounds weird saying that a player deserves to be put on waivers,
sent away. Yeah, he deserves to go straight to free agency.
Yeah, but giving him the right to go to a contending team and finish out his career in the postseason, potentially win a World Series, I think that'd be freaking awesome. So I think that is something that they should do. I hope they do it. But also good job by the Angels for extending Perry. I know we talked about it in the last show, but I've gotten over the last few days, some texts from other baseball people who think that Perry's done a really nice job in Anaheim, especially considering the circumstances of working under Artie Moreno, which we all know, if you watch the show, that's not an easy thing. But he's done a good job in extending his contract, gives him some security and allows him to do his thing in the offseason as well. So good job by them.
Good job by them. We love you folks. And Perry's plenty more time to put his stamp on this roster moving forward. This would be a nice olive branch to extend in the early going. Okay, now to the teams that are hot instead of the teams that are kind of not and are placing players on waivers. The teams that can take advantage of the waiver wire. The Arizona Diamondbacks. I'm about to talk about, we were going to talk about the NL West as a whole. We're going to talk about the Guardians and the Royals and Twins in the Central. And so I think it's maybe not fair that I'm just framing this as like, let's talk about the NL West, because that's the one that really captures my attention. I asked which race is more engrossing to you, the Dodgers being followed closely behind by potentially the two most exciting teams in the National League at the moment in the Padres and Diamondbacks, or the Central, where all of a sudden the Royals aren't going anywhere. The Twins aren't going anywhere either, despite a little late game choke there yesterday against the Cardinals. And the Guardians have seen their consistency slip a little bit. So unfair to the fans of the AL Central, because I think we all know where we're leaning here, but which race intrigues you more as we get closer to September?
Yeah, for me, this isn't close. I think it's the NL West, because if you look at it, the Dodgers, they entered the year with expectations of being perhaps the best team in baseball history. After signing Shohei Ohtani and Yamamoto and Teoscar Hernandez and all these players and adding them to an already really good roster, the expectations were high there. But then you have the San Diego Padres, who have been awesome in the second half. You have the Arizona Diamondbacks, who look a lot like last year's team, and they're all within a few games of each other. It is a super exciting race. I think it's easily the most enticing one in baseball right now, and I don't exactly know how it's going to play out. I think the Dodgers, at least at this point, are the favorites, but you cannot rule out either the Padres or the Diamondbacks in this thing. I think it's a thrilling race, and then you have Jackson Merrill, who is he looks like a superstar at this point. To me, he's the favorite to win the National League Rookie of the Year. There's so many different takes that are going on through my head, which is, if you know me, that is not like me. I am a very straightforward person, but this race is thrilling to me. I'm very curious to see how it plays out, but it is freaking good for baseball, man. It is really good for baseball. What do you think, Adam?
I agree with you. It's also just wild that after the series the Dodgers had against Tampa and Seattle, where they got Scott Servais fired ostensibly, you get the Shohei Ohtani walk-off grand slam for 40-40, late Mookie Betts homer yesterday after Ohtani escapes a wrist injury. And we should be talking about, okay, the star power on the best team in baseball is carrying them through. And instead, we've got to contend with the Diamondbacks going to Fenway and sweeping the Red Sox and coming back from a 4-0 hole against Tanner Houck yesterday. Eugenio Suarez delivering the scoreboard flipping 3-run homer to turn that into a 6-4 game and eventual Diamondbacks win. And we're dealing with Jackson Merrill has this man ever hit a low leverage home run in his life? Sarah Langs, 5 game tying or go ahead homers in the 9th inning or later this season. Not just game tying or go ahead homers overall, but in the 9th inning or later, that's 2 more than anybody else in baseball. And I think everyone on earth expecting him to victimize Edwin Diaz yesterday and got the job. And Jurickson Profar, if Jackson Merrill didn't exist, all we'd be talking about was how Jurickson Profar was one of the most exciting high leverage players in baseball this year. And there are 2 of them on the same roster. He tied the game before Merrill did the job. AJ Cassavell in 14 plate appearances with the Padres tied or trailing by a run in the 9th inning. Again, in the 9th inning, not just late and close. Jackson Merrill's hitting .583 with a walk and 5 homers. Those homers are off George Soriano. I'm grouping this list from less impressive to most impressive. George Soriano, David Bednar struggling to command his curveball this year, but still that's an all-star closer. Blake Trinan, Edwin Diaz, and freaking Mason Miller. That's 14 plate appearances, 5 home runs off all brand names. Paul Skenes just so happens to be having an historic rookie season for a pitcher. And you can't say he's out of the spotlight. He led the Pirates to the precipice of the postseason in the midsummer. He started the All-Star game. He is the number one name that anybody, if you were to ask your everyday fan to draft just who's the starting pitcher you most want to watch right now, if you're going to the ballpark, with Shohei Ohtani on the mend, it's probably Paul Skenes. And yet, the historic numbers might favor Merrill in terms of late and close and intensity, because if you're watching a guy complete comeback after comeback by himself, it skews the votes.
Oh, it totally does. It's legit what he's doing right now. You got to remember, he's 21 years old, and he's playing a position that he did not coming into the year. And he's been freaking awesome. And being able to do this at that age, for lack of a better phrase, he's got a set of boulders between his legs because he's got nothing that phases him at all.
There's no better phrase, by the way. Lack of a better phrase. I mean, that's the best phrase on earth. So.
Oh, it absolutely. It's one that I do like to use. I have not used it on the Baseball Insiders, but it applies to Jackson Merrill. And I've talked about my conversation with him at the All-Star game on the show before, but I cannot stress enough how much this kid desires to win. He is all ball all the time. He is super intense. And that conversation had, like, I can see why he's succeeding as well as he's doing. And he just looks like the next face of the Padres, perhaps, or face of the next generation of baseball. Everything about him is awesome. And the fact that he's doing this at 21, it has to have you really excited if you're the Padres for what's to come. By the way, we got to mention this one as well. Derek Shelton told reporters in Pittsburgh that O'Neal Cruz will be moving to center field with Nick Gonzalez back. That is not something I anticipated at all. Obviously, Michael Taylor was pretty much a center fielder with the Pirates, so it makes you wonder if he does clear waivers, maybe there wouldn't be exactly some playing time for him there. So we'll see how that goes. But that kind of caught me off guard. I did not see that coming.
Yeah, I don't have much commentary there other than to say, like everybody.
Yeah, I don't get it.
We have plenty of questions on this show and others in recent weeks about, hey, are we addressing O'Neal Cruz's defensive struggles adequately enough? Like at short, are we saying the offense outweighs the defense? Are we just sort of saying that as a platitude, or are we really watching the defense? Clearly, the Pirates have decided to use September for some experimentation. It's pretty bizarre to think that this is a team that we were hoping was playoff bound in July, and we're talking about going forward to the deadline, and now we're saying let's put our shortstop in center field for whatever reason. But that's bizarre. Where we're at. Yeah.
That's I don't get it.
And is Derek Shelton, like, is he shepherding the future of the Pirates? Like, is he moving O'Neal Cruz to center field so that another manager can see what it's like next year? I don't know.
I don't know either. It's I don't want to speculate on someone's job status when I don't have any true insight on it. But the Pirates, they view this year as their first real chance of being a postseason team, and yet right now, or their first chance of being a postseason team in quite a while, I should say. And the fact that they started as strong as they did, and they've floundered since. It makes you wonder if something is possible. We've seen it happen with the Mariners. Obviously, different circumstances a little bit there, but both teams started off strong and kind of collapsed. So stranger things have happened.
Yes, well, at the very least, it's good fodder for the pod. We love to talk wild nonsense, and we'll hopefully, hey, after a week of data, maybe of O'Neal Cruz in center field, we'll have a more educated take rather than just the sound I make when I open my mouth and air escapes. But that's what I've got for you right now. Speaking of those Arizona Diamondbacks, the comment section, absolutely, MLB Deadline News roasting me over my inability to accurately project the Diamondbacks. Of course, he is being sarcastic, I assume, because famously I had the Diamondbacks in the playoffs last year, and I won a cool $12 on it because I am a nervous, scared bettor. But I wasn't ready to ditch the Diamondbacks this year either, and they weren't ready to ditch Eugenio Suarez, who struggled in the first half of the season, has since become an essential part of their clubhouse fabric, clubhouse culture, and a culture that we saw work so well last year, leading them to a Torey Lovullo, Mike Hazen fueled World Series run, participatory more than you could say for most teams. I know why the Mariners got rid of Eugenio Suarez this offseason, but it's just another reminder of how some teams operate and how some teams don't. And the floundering Mariners who can't find offense anywhere with their 600 OPS facilitated via trade Suarez going to the reigning NL champions, and he has become a part of the fabric of that roster down the stretch.
Yeah. Oh, he absolutely has. And I remember that trade being made in the offseason. It was essentially a salary dump by the Mariners, but it seemed really curious how they went from having Suarez, who's a proven veteran, and he was a key part of that locker room in Seattle last year. Like, you talk to people in and around that team, they thought he was a huge part of what they had. So they moved on from him, and they went into opening day or went into spring training with Luis Urias as their primary third baseman. And that never really felt like a sound strategy because Urias, I mean, he was a top prospect with the Padres, but floundered there. Milwaukee, same thing. Then Boston let him go. So that never seemed like a really good strategy. But as far as the Diamondbacks, like there was a lot of external pressure from that fan base to part ways with Suarez at the deadline, or even before that. Like especially after his first half, he struggled badly. He's barely hitting over 200. He had 10 home runs, but the second half of the season has really rewarded them for their patience. He's been one of the most instrumental players in that on the field and also in the clubhouse as well. And as far as the vibes go right now, the vibes with the Diamondbacks are good. They're real good. I'll be at Wednesday's game, so we'll have some insight for you on Thursday's show and everything. But they look good right now. They look very good, and Suarez is a key part of it. But over that front office and that the manager, like I mean, Lovello and Mike Hazen have been awesome. They're a great leadership group, and they got them steering in the right direction again. And wouldn't you know, here come those Diamondbacks. Unbelievable.
Wouldn't you know it? We sure did. And if you want to also breaking on the pod, if you want another Adam Weinrib fan favorite, good news. Welcome to AAA, Kumar Rocker. Rangers number 2 prospect makes his first AAA start Wednesday at the Dell Diamond for the Round Rock Express. Also a longtime Kumar Rocker fan, although I've probably spoken about that less on the podcast than I have the Arizona Diamondbacks. Good for Rocker. That's a guy I would love to see succeed in Major League Baseball, especially after the Mets drafted and spurned him. Have to touch on the AL Central because we advertised it. Look, just because they didn't win our straw poll of which division race we're most excited for, there is still some headway to be made this week in both the Central race between now a 3-way race between the Royals, Twins, and Chicago White Sox. No, just kidding. It's the Guardians. The White Sox have lost 100 games. NDFA Nick Senzel. Royals took the first game of the DH today. That's 3 more in Cleveland, 3 more in KC in September. 6 more showdowns between the Royals and Guardians specifically. What are your expectations for that rivalry kicking off that may even have greater ramifications on the American League awards picture as a whole?
No, for sure. And I think that's a great shout by you because these series with the Royals and the Guardians, they're going to be big, and you can't rule out the Twins here as well. This is essentially an NL West version. Well, the AL Central kind of has a NL West vibes in terms of competition. Just the AL West the NL West, I should say, is getting a lot more coverage and just scrutiny because it's, I mean, the bigger teams, honestly. But as far as this series goes, I think this is going to be in the series that Bobby Witt Jr.'s star really shines. And the Royals paid him what they did to win and perform in series like this and to perform in the postseason. And I think this is going to be really when having that star power is going to really benefit them. And I think it's going to help them out a lot. It's going to be a very enticing series because obviously Cleveland's strength is the bullpen right now. I mean, their bullpen's been very good, but I think this is multiple series of Bobby Witt Jr. That's my feel as of right now.
Yeah, there was some discussion on MLB Network yesterday that was sort of akin to like, hey, can Judge catch Bobby Witt Jr. for the Triple Crown? You know, if Judge does this, Witt would have to hit 290. And the consensus was that Witt is a high leverage player, like Jackson Merrill, the similar DNA, and that expecting him to hit 290 with all of these Guardians games, no matter how strong the bullpen is, I think is sort of underestimating what Witt brings to the table. Now, I still think that Aaron Judge is your AL MVP. And I think that a lot of annoyed college football fans who are trying to watch the early kickoff of SMU Rice are going to get devastating news when they realize that they have to watch a potentially historic end to an individual Major League Baseball season on the league's marquee franchise. I'm so sorry that there might be some brief cut-ins to Aaron Judge playing baseball during your college football. But after hitting homers 50 and 51 on Sunday in a win over the Rockies, he's officially on pace for 63. On pace for is a toughie. A 2 home run game skews the pace. 3 days without a home run skews the pace. It's going to be really hard for him to top 62, but it's no longer impossible. And that's after he had a March, April where he hit 6 homers and was batting just above the Mendoza line at 200. So he's my AL MVP. It's going to take something unfathomable If they both stay healthy and active, I think Judge is pretty much a shoo-in at this point, unless he goes homerless in September and the Royals win the Central. But what are your thoughts on Judge in the home run race? Yet again, second year out of the most recent 3 seasons where he is threatening that 60-plus mark.
Yeah, and I mentioned before about how Bobby Witt Jr. is like this upcoming series against the Guardians is going to be like the Bobby Witt Jr. series. Like he is if there's the AL MVP discussion at this point is between Judge and Bobby Witt Jr. While Bobby Witt Jr. has been awesome, I think it's got to go to Judge. Like it's going to be very tough for him to top what he did last year in terms of his home run numbers and beating that record again. But the fact that he's done this 3 times already throughout his entire career and hitting 50-plus home runs is absolutely crazy. He is a generational player. I think that is not an exaggeration. There's a reason why the Yankees made him a captain. He's just everything about him is good for baseball. And like you see what he does on the field. He hits home runs at an epic rate. He's a productive player, like a very productive player, obviously. But everyone around him in that Yankees organization just raves about him as a human and about how good of a leader he is. He is an invaluable player for the Yankees. And having him and having Juan Soto, that is just an unbelievable duo. And we should not take for granted what is going on with Judge right now because it's special. And I'm not one who – this is like a podcast where I'm kind of I'm doing something that I typically do not do. But I'm going to get this discussion started because I had a buddy ask me this yesterday, and I didn't know the answer to it because it made me think, who would you rather have in their primes, Aaron Judge or Mike Trout? That is, I mean, I lean toward Trout, but Judge he's making the case real well right now that he is absolutely deserving to be in that conversation, perhaps even the pick. I'm still leaning Trout, but I'm curious what the rest of the world thinks. And maybe, who knows, maybe this gets a discussion started on Twitter and I get yelled at for starting this. But I'm not usually a debate guy, but here I am. I'm bringing it to the table.
It's a tough one because I feel like I'd rather take Trout in his prime over Aaron Judge playing center field. But if you move Judge to his natural position in right where he grades that better and he can really show off that arm strength, it is so close. And I think the craziest part of the discussion is, what is Aaron Judge's prime? I guess it's now that he's tripped past age 30. Like, I'll take Trout's prime that's already been recorded over Judge's age 27 to 30 seasons, the traditional prime. But Judge is improving. I would take this version of Judge over any version we have seen of Mike Trout. I understand that's blasphemy, and I wish he was able to play right field now. I wish he was able to pair this offensive season with the right field defense that we've come to know and love. Now, that is to say that I'll take Juan Soto in the outfield. I enjoy the reason why he's not playing right field. For the completionist portion of this discussion, if you had Judge in right, having this offensive season, I will take that. But that said, center field, imperfect, and the aging curve, all that, Trout's prime is still pretty hard to top. But it's a great conversation.
No, it's a great conversation. I think what you just laid out is precisely how I feel, but Judge is making that conversation a lot tougher, especially with Trout's injury history, especially recently. Which is really unfortunate because it feels like we've, as baseball fans, gotten robbed of seeing one of the best players of all time play in his prime. And Trout's awesome. Don't get me wrong. Like, both of them are great players and we should appreciate them accordingly. But that conversation to me was very interesting because I'm not typically stumped when it comes to stuff like that, but I was pretty stumped yesterday. So there we go.
My jaw is a little bit on the floor, somewhat. Got some comments talking about how Judge cheats to win. I'm going to not address that comment, and I'm going to say thank you for enjoying this episode of the Baseball Insiders. Hope you did. Thank you for joining us if you're here for the first time. If you're not, we would love that you're a repeat visitor. If you're here because you wanted to talk Diamondbacks or you wanted to see MLB Deadline News troll me for my increasingly accurate D-backs takes, welcome. We're here every Monday and Thursday, 3:30 Eastern. We've also got a Discord channel for you to join. You can join in an all-star tier or a rumor mill tier. Judge accidental cleating. I really thought I'd be able to leave that comment in the dustbin, but actually, please show me please show me a time the judge accidentally cleated somebody and cheated to win a baseball game. You can take it to me offline, take it to me in the Discord. Until Thursday, I'm Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib. It's right there. You can find both of us in the Discord. You can find Robert Murray at @ByRobertMurray. You should turn on notifications for his tweets because he'll give you juice like today when Nick Senzel and Forrest Wall are hitting the waiver wire.
And Jake Woodford.
And Jake Woodford as well. And perhaps some more prominent players will be hitting that waiver wire over the course of the week. We will discuss that on Thursday's show because, Robert, there are still some moves to be made.
No, that there is. There's plenty of moves to be made yet. I will address this from Sports Glory, who asked the same question last week. As far on Zaidi or Bob Melvin on the hot seat, they should be. Are the Giants going to look at waivers? I need the T. I don't anticipate either Farhan or Melvin being on the hot seat at this point. So that's no, I don't anticipate that at this point.
Yeah, well, happy to answer it. Obviously, thank you for showing up. Thank you for bringing a comment to the comment section. All stars get priority in the comment section. Get your questions to us ahead of time. But otherwise, we're going to address people's questions as they come, and that's how we're going to handle Thursday's show as well. For Robert Murray, I'm Adam Weinrib. We will see you right back here then.
Thank you, everybody.